Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mila, you're at my book nook. Today I'm going to go through my favorite audiobooks. So without further ado, I do want to caveat that I think only one of them I actually finished fully, or two of them I might have just finished fully on audiobook, maybe even three, I'm not sure. Or there might have been at some point where I'm immersive reading, so I'm reading as well as listening to it. So yeah, I'll let you know which ones those are, but otherwise it should be like a majority of it has been an audiobook, or I just really enjoyed the audiobook, but I might have not fully finished it yet because I got probably distracted by other things. But yeah, I do have a Substack version of this, so I'll link that down below. I don't think I have an Instagram post version, but I probably will eventually. Yeah, let me know your favorite audiobooks down in the comments if you agree on any of these. Let me know your favorite narrators. I definitely have a couple up my sleeve. So yeah, and let's get right into it. So the first one I have is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. Now this is one that I haven't finished yet because I kept on running out of, my Libby loan kept on running out because I'd only listen to this at work when I'm doing stacks, but sometimes I wouldn't be doing stacks for long enough to be listening to it, or there wouldn't be enough stacks to do that kind of thing, right? So it really depended. So the narrator for this is Michael Kramer. I don't know how to say that. The length is 12 hours, 27 minutes, and it's available on Libro FM. Should be available on Libby. That depends on your local library, as well as Audible. This is one of Sanderson's secret projects, and it's also a standalone. And it's something I would also agree with recommending for a newfound Sanderson fan or someone who's getting into fantasy. I think this would be a really good start because I find that Sanderson has not just the humor for beginners, sort of, that is easier for them to absorb, but also world building in his writing is very beginner friendly, right? So yeah, and Kramer is one of those narrators for specifically Sanderson that pops up in a lot of other audiobooks that Sanderson has, which I think he has audiobooks for basically all his books, at least relating to the Cosmere, which is all his books basically, most of them at least. I don't know if the Cytonic series has, I think it's called Cytonic. It's that sci-fi series that he has with, I think, a co-writer. I don't know if Kramer is the narrator for this, but Kramer, as far as the Cosmere, it's him that narrates a lot of the audiobooks, and he is fantastic. He does such a good job. Next, we have A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. This one was something I picked up randomly on a whim. I've been wanting to get into T. Kingfisher, and I think I read Hemlock and Silver as my first T. Kingfisher book, which was definitely a choice. And I liked that there were two distinct POVs in the book, and so you had two very distinct narrators, and you can tell by the voice, right, that it was either the younger POV or the older POV because the voices were very distinct. You can tell that it was probably narrated, the younger voice was probably narrated by someone who was I don't know, an adult, right? But you could tell that it was definitely a much younger voice than the one who voiced the older character. And the older character is in her 60s, I think, much older, right? So I really like that one. And this is narrated by Eliza Foss and Jennifer Pickens. This is 11 hours and 23 minutes, and it's available on Libro FM, Libby, and Audible. Now I know that Audible has been in some hot water, but for some it might be the only option, which is why I'm telling you if it is available on Audible, in case that is your only option, in case that's the only subscription you're able to have, in case for whatever reason. I just want to let you also know that there are other options, but also if you're looking for Audible ones, there's an option for Audible. Next, we have Gideon the Ninth by Tamsyn Muir. This is one where I listened to a good chunk of it on audio, but then I actually finished it via the physical copy, and I finally read my physical copy. Shocker, isn't it? So I switched to the physical copy for the end bit, but I really enjoyed what I listened to because the narrator does such a good job in really nailing sort of the dry British humor, because I think Moira Kirk might have been British. Moira. let me just see. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so British actress. And yeah, so she does a really good job in like sort of nailing that sort of dry British humor. I know Tamsyn is I think they're from New Zealand. Tamsyn. Yeah, they're from New Zealand. So yeah, it's just that dry British humor, I want to say. She really nails it, and it was just like a really fun time. So this one is 16. The narrator's Moira Quirk. The length is 16 hours and 50 minutes, and is available on Libro FM, Libby, and Audible. Next, we have something that is definitely the most, I think, different from all the other books, but because the other books are very much rooted in like sci-fi and fantasy, and you'll see why I mentioned sci-fi as well, even though I'm not big on sci-fi as a whole, and that is Russka by Edward Rutherfurd. And now this one is a little tricky because there's actually two different versions. So I got the Audible one, and then the Libby version has another one. So there's two different versions. Sorry, I'm just like reading off my Substack post. So I got the Audible version because I think that one's like an Audible exclusive, and I really liked how it sounded. And Russka is, the reason why I say this is an outlier to every other one is because this is actually historical fiction, and it's a really long book. So I figured that maybe, oh, the audiobook shouldn't be too bad. The audiobook's 47 hours and 17 minutes. That's like the longest one on this list. Yeah, it is the longest one on this list. So the narrator for the Audible version, which is the one I listened to, is Roger Davis. The narrator for the Libby one, which is one of the libraries had it, is Wanda McCadden. I don't know, like I don't have to loan the Libby one all the time. So I liked the one by Roger Davis more, and I like the way that he pronounces good job. As someone who clearly doesn't speak Russian, I think I think he's British. Hold on. Roger Davis, audiobooks. No, not that one. I think he's like British or something. Yeah, he's an award-winning producer and editor for BBC. Nice. He's done a really good, yeah. He's done a lot of like nonfiction stuff. But yeah. So yeah, that's my only big caveat for that one. Oh, and as I said, this is available on Audible as well as Libby, but they are two different narrators. Next, we have Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Is it really an audiobook recommendations video in 2026 or even 2025 that like won't, if you don't have Project Hail Mary? Project Hail Mary clearly blew up, right? Because of the movie with Ryan Gosling, which, yeah, fair enough. I still think about it. Still get the TikTok edits. You know, I probably will once I open up TikTok again. I probably will. The first thing is that probably will pop up. It's probably going to be some sad, edit to like the, Wait for Me from Hadestown, or I don't know, the song that they have at the end. Yeah, anyways, or like The Winner Takes It All. Yeah, those are sad. Those are sad. But Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir is a science fiction book. And the reason I read this was because of the upcoming movie, and that's a whole other video in itself. Which books did I actually read because of the adaptation, because I watched the adaptation, or because I wanted to watch the adaptation, but I didn't want to be spoiled for the story? Maybe that's a whole other video. Let me know if you want that. But this one's narrated by Ray Porter, and wow, he apparently cold read this. And there is a section that I'm still so flabbergasted by. And I have half a mind to like ask Ray Porter about it, but I also don't want to seem rude because it might be taken as rude because I was a little harsh about it. But in the overall grand scheme of things, I think he does just like really good narration. Like, he's a fantastic narrator. And unfortunately, this is 16 hours and 10 minutes, unfortunately, to say that it is an Audible exclusive, which is such a bummer because it's such a good audiobook. And I feel like this would blow up in sales if it was available, like, without the exclusivity clause. It's a bummer, but it is an Audible exclusive. But if you have a chance to grab it, if you get like the trial or whatever, or you get gifted like an Audible trial, whatever, right? I would highly recommend grabbing this. If there's any book that I want you to grab as an Audible exclusive, it's this one. Next, we have A Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin. And I think I did more of Clash of Kings than I did Storm of Swords or Game of Thrones as an audiobook, which is why this one is on here and not the other two. And also, Clash of Kings, as far as storyline goes and what sort of happens, is fresher in my mind. Although, ask me to recount what happens, I don't remember. Technically, I'm like 300 pages into Storm of Swords, but I put it down. I might have to, I don't want to restart it. I might have to restart it. But anyway, there will be a vlog for it. But anyways, so the narrator for this is Roy Tress. Unfortunately, I think he's passed away, which is such a bummer because he does such a fantastic job. And he does such a good job. He's actually he's phenomenal. Like the voices that he does, the emotion that you feel, and it's just he does such an amazing job. This is 37 hours and 12 minutes, and I think this is the second longest one, I'd say. So definitely a couple of days. This is available on Libro.fm, Libby, and Audible, so it's definitely one of those that is more widespread as far as availability goes. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2017, which if we ever get the new books, there will likely be a re-recording version of all the audiobooks so that it's the same across the board. I just hope they don't take down the one by Roy Tress. But yeah, so I would highly recommend this one. It's so good. It's such a good time. Next, we have one that is a nonfiction, actually, which I guess this is a secondary one that's a little out of left field in a sense, and that is The Seven Wonders of the Ancient World by Bettany Hughes. Now, one thing about nonfiction is that I don't read a lot of it, but when I dip my toes in, I love when the nonfiction book, especially if it's like history or ancient history related, which is most of what I read as far as nonfiction goes, when it's narrated by the author, because a lot of classicists, I live in Canada, and a lot of classicists are British, or they live in England, they live in the UK, whatever, they live on the other side of the damn ocean, and they often don't come here or don't come at all. Like my friend Helen, she says, "Oh yeah, I've met Mary Beard, I've met Natalie Haynes." What do you mean? Anyways, but this one is about, obviously, as the title says, The Seven Wonders of the Ancient World. Now, I haven't finished this one because, again, my Libby loan ran out and I just haven't had the time to listen to audiobooks and stuff. But I just love when the author narrates a nonfiction because it adds just like so many layers to it, because like, wow, this is like the expert of experts of this book, and possibly this, section of whatever it is you're learning about, like, wow, you're hearing it from them. And she also has a very pleasant voice. So there's that. And the length of this is 13 hours, 59 minutes. So it's not super long, but it's also not on the, it's like in the middle. It's a good like 2-3 day audiobook, right? And it is available on Libro.fm, Libby, and Audible. Next, we have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is a full cast narration, so I can't even tell you who's kind of who. But I can tell you it is a full cast narration, and it is phenomenal. It is so good. It is just on another level. This is one of like the first, if The Hobbit was the first audiobook I read, this is one of the first like full cast ones that I truly enjoyed. And this one is so good because it's a full cast and you actually hear the like ringing and stuff, like if she's talking on the phone, if Pip goes to call someone, like it's almost crackly, like it's still, you can still understand it very well. You can understand everything very well, like it doesn't deter it away. But there's like that almost like crackling sound of like the phone, or like, someone talking through a speaker, there's like that sort of almost slight distance, right, from your ear that you would hear through like a phone, so, or like, yeah, that you would hear from a phone. So I think this was so good. The immersive reading experience is also really fun. And I did end up reading it with my eyeballs towards the end. But I would highly recommend this. This is 10 hours and 53 minutes and is available on Libro.fm, Libby, as well as Audible. Next, we have The Will of the Many by James Islington. This one blew up, and the audiobook is also fantastic. This one is narrated by Ewan Morton, and this is 28 hours and 14 minutes. Unfortunately, I hate to say this, It's an Audible exclusive. Yeah, it's an Audible exclusive. Yeah. Also, the narrator is Scottish, which I think adds just like a whole other level to it. I just love Scottish English book narrators, but that's a me thing, I think. But also, I'm also very picky about the voices. So even if you have a very nice English accent or Scottish accent, if the microphone picks up your voice in a weird way, then I'm gonna turn it off. I'm gonna turn it off. Next, we have 3 more. Next, we have Dawn of the Firebird by Sarah Mughal Rana. Is it a recommendations video if I don't mention this book? This is narrated by Sarah Salmani. This is 19 hours and 45 minutes, and it is available on Libby FM, Libby, and Audible. And this one is so interesting because at the beginning, you're literally being told a story. You're literally being said, this is the story of this, this, and this. And there's this portion where the main character actually is telling a story to those around her, and she's branded as like the storyteller of the tribe. And it's such an immersive experience to be reading this. And not just as like a Central Asian because I'm Central Asian, but because it's so immersive and it's like oral story maxing, basically. So I recommend this. This is another case of me reading it like with my eyeballs towards the end. I read it as an audiobook because my copy actually has sprayed edges and I didn't want to ruin it because my sister got it for me. It's very special to me because Sarah's also a friend. But this was so good. This one kept me up at night. This one, I was in tears. I have a vlog for it, and I'll link that down below if you want to watch it. But man, this one had me in tears. I was crying. Next, we have The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is narrated by Andy Serkis, who plays Gollum. This is 10 hours, 24 minutes. So very easily, readable through like a weekend, 3 days-ish, if you're averaging like 3 hours per day, so to speak. So roughly 3 days. And this is actually my first ever audiobook that I listened to. I picked it up randomly through Kobo, and because I had the subscription for the audiobook stuff, and I don't like their UI. I don't like their interface for the audiobooks. I like Audibles and Libby's even more, but this was such a good one, and it was such a fun time because I only knew The Hobbit through the movies, and I loved the movies. I don't want to hear the haters in the comments about the Hobbit movies. Do not get out. Get out. There's a door. I don't want to hear it. Andy Serkis does a fantastic job because you listen to it, and if you're not told that it's one person, you wouldn't believe that it's one person because his voices are so distinct. Gandalf from Bilbo to like Thorin to like Gollum to like whoever, even the elves, like it's so distinct, and you truly believe that it's like a full cast. Lastly, we have Mistborn, The Final Empire by Sanderson, the first Mistborn book. Then the narrator is again Michael Kramer. As I said, Kramer tends to narrate most, if not all, the Cosmere books. I'll have to double check on that, but it was just really nice because the audiobook was great, and I kept falling asleep and I have to rewind, but it was so immersive and it was great. And Kramer does again also like Serkis and like Tress and stuff. He does really distinct voices that you can't really tell that it's, you can kind of tell that it's one person, but you also, like, if you're just like listening sort of, I don't want to say passively, but if you're not too focused on the voice, and you're truly just listening to the story, you're not going to notice that it is one person. Like, you're really going to think that there's like several people at least. So that is it for my favorite audiobooks. Let me know yours down below. Let me know which ones you agree with and which ones you don't agree with. And as per usual, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on all my socials. Let me know your thoughts down below. I will link all applicable links down below as well. And I will see you in the next one. And as usual, happy reading.